It is so freaking shiny. I don't think I like that. But me thinks a couple trips on our dusty dirt roads will sort that right out. Yep, I got it painted. 3 coats, top and bottom. And here's the joke. I did all of it with rollers and brushes. Madness. I didn't want to spray in here with overspray on other painted parts and other vehicles and all of that. So what can I say but that I am a sucker for punishment, man. Now, if you don't believe me, have a look in here underneath the truck. Every single nook and cranny is now painted black on this whole structure. I was crawling around for hours on end underneath this thing. But you know what? Actually, it wasn't that bad. I mean, I had the good old school music going. Nobody was bothering me. And I had some great conversations with myself. Me thinks this deck is going to be way too slippery the way it is right now. I've got a plan for that. But I'm a little tired of painting right now. So I'll save that for another day. And I would like to get into some fabrication, which I always enjoy. I'm going to build myself some fuel tanks that needs to go right in here. I've got the original old fuel tank that lived in there. But upon closer inspection, it turns out to be very rusty on the inside. So instead of struggling with that, I think I'm just going to build myself some new fuel tanks. One on each side, so I can increase my range a little bit maybe. And since I've never done it before, I think I would like to build round fuel tanks as well. So first order of business for me is to measure this tank so I can work out its volume, so that I can have a starting point as to what size my new fuel tank needs to be. So I'm just going to take measurements here, and I see that the width here is 39 centimeters, 390 millimeters. My height is 400 millimeters, and my length is, what is that, 750 millimeters. When I work in millimeters for a good reason, let's go and calculate the volume of this tank. Right, so volume of course is width times height times length. I plug in my dimensions and I get 0.117 cubic meters. Now in a cubic meter there's 1,000 liters, so this will be 117 liters, and in US gallons that would be 31 gallons. So that is the capacity of the OEM tank. I would like my new tank to have at least that, preferably more. Right, so now if I want to build round tanks, the first thing I've got to decide on is the diameter. So I've just cut myself this hardboard disc, which is the same diameter as the width of the original tank. And I just want to put this in here to see how that's going to look. So it's going to sit here somewhere. I think round tanks are going to look really cool, eh? I like this idea. And I think my size is pretty much spot on. I can't make it much bigger than this. And yeah, not small. I think this is right. I'm going to work with this. This is going to be the diameter of my round fuel tank. So if 2 of these discs are going to be the 2 ends of my tank, I would need to roll a piece of sheet metal into a tube with the same diameter. And the length of that tube is going to be determined by my little shop-made slip roller, my little baby slip roller, because it's not very wide. You can see the width here. On the absolute maximum I can get through here would be 650 millimeters, which is about 25.5 inches. So this is going to determine the length of my tank, absolute maximum. Can't have it any wider than that, or longer than that rather. Right, so now the standard sheet of material I have here, this is 1.2 millimeters. Is that 18 gauge, I think? So the width of this one that I have here is in millimeters 1230, a tad more than 4 foot. Half of that would be 615. So if I actually work on a length for my tank of 615, I will just use my material economically, right? So that's what I'm going to do. Right, so here's the maths to see if my proposed sizes will work out for me. My diameter of the tank, I said 400, which is a 200 radius expressed in meters, it's 0.2. That length as determined by the economical use of my material, 0.615 meters. And now it's back to school. The area of a circle is pi r square. We do that calculation and we get that area in meters, square meters of 0.1257. The volume will then be the area of the circle multiplied by the length. I do that calculation, same as the previous one, in cubic meters, comes out to 77 liters. And now for my American friends who measures wine in liters and fuel in gallons, 20.3 gallons. But I am planning to do 2 tanks, one on each side. So I will then have a total capacity of 154 liters or 40.6 gallons. That's a little bit more than the original OEM tank. I'm happy with that. So these dimensions that I've got here, that's going to work out just fine. So I'm going to make my pieces using these dimensions. So I'm going to make my 2 discs or the end caps first. Slightly rusty piece of material, but we make it work. So we decided on a radius of 200. I made a little punch mark there to locate my dividers so it won't slip. And yeah, now a little trip down memory lane here. You know, I made this pair of dividers, yeah, it's nearly 40 years ago. It was one of the projects when I attended the trade school. But then, yeah, that's a story for another time. Let's scribe our circle. Oops, I nearly slipped. You see? I'm not going to cut on this scribed line though. I would like my circle or disc to have a little lip all the way around. So I'm going to add 5 millimeters, just short of a 1/4 inch. And then we will fold the lip all the way along the edge of this disc. I'll show you just now how we do it. And that is just to help me with the welding down the line. You will see later what I mean. So I'm just going to scribe my new cut line. And then we can cut out our first disc. Right, 3 discs, 2 for end caps and 1 for a baffle. Man, I tell you, these face-off discs, it's the best thing since sliced bread. I'm telling you, there's absolutely nothing better for removing rust and paint without taking off any of the base material. I just love these things. So now I'd like to tip the edges of these discs, and that's just a fancy way of saying bend a 90-degree lip on it like I have on this piece of scrap. So that scribed line that you see there, remember, that's going to be my guide for bending this lip all along the edge of the disc. So the well-equipped shops would use tipping dies and a proper big-ass motorized bead roller for tipping edges. We're going to have to make do with what we've got, which is this El Cheapo manual Chinese jobby. But you know what, unless you're a pro and you bead roll every day, they work well enough. Heck, they're worth their money just for the dies and the mechanics. You can always build a new frame and motorize it yourself. There's countless videos about that on YouTube. But the one modification, if nothing else, that I would recommend you do is to get rid of that stupid crank handle, because you need another person to crank it if you want to work here. You can't reach there. So I added this simple offset wheel, and now I can see what I'm doing here while turning the wheel. It's really worth the trouble. Look at that. Yeah, so not tipping dies, but I'm just going to use this set of dies that you get with the machine when you buy it. Let's see how it turns out. So I've got my material in here and I've turned down the top roller until it's kind of just holding my piece of material in place. And if you look carefully there, you can see that the edge of that top roller is lined up with my scribe line. So I'm going to now turn the wheel on my little manual bead roller and follow that line. Of course I need to crank it down first. Let's see. So I'm going to crank it down until I'm happy with it. You can see how it's starting to bend. Maybe a little bit more. Alright, let's try it. So that scribe line there is my guide. You can see I've got it lined up with the edge of the die right there. And now as I turn the wheel on my bead roller, I need to feed my material in and keep the wheel lined up with the scribe line as I work my way around the edge of the plate. So obviously it's not a straight line. So the smoother and the more accurate I can do this, the better my tipped edge will be. Let's give it a shot. It's kind of difficult here with the camera in the way. You see what I'm doing? I'm trying to keep it lined up as I turn the wheel on my little bead roller. Well, if you look at what's coming out the other side there, it doesn't look too bad. So I'm not just going to concentrate on keeping the edge of my die lined up with my scribe line as I work my way along the edge, around the curve. I'm going to try and do it as smooth as I can. A motorized machine would probably be much easier, and it won't have the stop-go scenario, but it is what it is and it works well enough. This one is done. A little bit distorted and wobbly, but that's to be expected from all that shaping. It's no big deal. We'll sort that out. And yeah, my turn tool tipped edge is not 100% perfect. That's why they make hammers. So I will just fine tune it a little bit. Maybe I should just clamp it down. It'll make it easier. You can see right there, it's a little bit wobbly, but some controlled persuasion will sort that right out. Right, so I've got my tipped edge as good as I can get it. Now I would like to stiffen up this end cap and roll in some beads. I've already marked it out. I'm just going to do a simple cross. I've got a set of beading dies in here now. Line up my marks. And then I'm just going to turn down this handle. Turn the bead, or turn the die down until it just touches the plate. And I'm going to count my turns. 1, 2, 2.5, 3. I think that'll do it. So I'm going to use the same number of turns on the other beads, so then I know they will all be the same. Let's go. That's the first one done. Repeat the process 3 more times. Line it up. Just touching now. Half, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3. Let's go. And then stop right there. Okay. I think I missed the count on that first one. There's half a turn missing there. But it's not the end of the world. I doubt if you will even see the difference. Right up to that point, and we can take it out. Last one. 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3. I'm sure I counted right this time, eh? There we go, and then we're going to stop when that mark lines up with the center of the wheel, right about there. And I think I've got all 4 done. Okay, lekker man, my first end cap is done. Now I've got to make another one, and then also the baffle piece.
Sometime later.
There you go, my 2 end caps are done. And the baffle piece. So this will go into the middle of the tank. You'll see later on. I've already made the cutouts. It will be orientated top and bottom, like this, to let the fuel and the air through. Coolio. Now would be a good time to weld in my fuel outlet fitting, because then I can weld it from both sides. So it's gonna go here somewhere, a little bit away from the very bottom, just to provide a bit of space in the tank there for sludge and dirt and whatnot to lie, for what it's worth. So I reckon about there somewhere. I'm just gonna drill a hole and weld that into place. Hey, ouch, don't touch the feet, it's hot. Okay, I've got this little chappy welded in from both sides, so we're good to go there. Okay, so now we got to start thinking about that tubular piece I was talking about. We've already established the one dimension, which was 615 millimeters, the length of the tank. Now I need to know what the circumference of my end cap is. We can calculate that. Circumference is 2 pi r. Or we can just measure it. So I'm just going to use this seamstress tape measure that I stole from my wife to measure my circumference, and I get 122.3 centimeters. Cool. What was it? 1, 2, to 3 millimeters. I'm going to add a bit of for an overlap, say 25. So that would make it a 1248 millimeters. That would be the length of this piece of sheet metal that is going to sit all around my end cap. I cut a piece from this 1.2mm plate. That's 18 gauge, I reckon, if I remember correctly. 615 long. That's the length we decided on of the tank, and then this away 1250. I just rounded it up to go around the circumference. We're going to be overlapping anyway to make the welding easier. You'll see that later. It had a little bit of surface rust, so I whacked it quickly with a face-off disc. Now here in my climate controlled shop, this cold rolled stuff does not last very long before it starts rusting. And in my case, climate controls means that the inside climate of my shop is controlled by the outside climate. Well, I'm ready to do the roly thing here on my baby slip roller. You know, I built this thing mostly with pieces I found in a junkyard. That stand right there, I got it as it is. I just added some wheels, these heavy channel sections, some other scrap bits of steel, and then I was very lucky to find these hard chrome rollers, 3 of them with the same length, same diameter. My only complaint, I wish they would have been longer. Apart from some bolts, about the only new pieces I bought were these bicycle parts, 2 sprockets and a bit of chain. And then here's my crank handle that drives both the bottom rollers. Okay, let's do this. So an important thing is to crank down these 2 handles the same amount, because they move the top roller down, and you want that top roller to go down parallel to the bottom rollers. Otherwise you're going to be rolling a cone. So let's see, half, 1, 1/2, 2. Let's do the same there. Half, 1/2, no, 1, 1/2, 2. Let's do some rolling. We need more. Let's try another half, 1, 1.5. Same this side. Half, 1, 1.5. Let's see what we get. Oh, I think it might be too much, eh? But it doesn't matter, because then we can just spring it open. Pretty close. Yeah, slightly too small, I think, but that's cool, because then we can just do that. I think we're good. Yep. I think that's going to do the trick. Let's see if it's going to fit. Try to get it in there best I can. Yes, man. That's as close as, damn it. Yeah. Gotta line it up a little bit, and then we can weld it together. Awesome. So it looks like the best plan for getting this thing together would be to just make a start somewhere, line up these edges, clamp it with some vice grips, and give it a couple of tacks, and then I work my way along the perimeter, repeating the process. So I think that is what I'm going to do. Yep, this plan seems to be working well. Let me show you what's going on here. See, I've already got it tacked together here. So I just clamp it with the vice grip. Make sure my edges is lined up. Tack it. Yeah, work my way along. Okay, lekker man. I got this one end cap on and in place. Yeah, and it worked out well. Now you can also see why I wanted that tipped edge. I mean, not only did it give me something to clamp and line up, but I can also just melt these edges together with the TIG welder. Now if this was just a plain flat disc without that tipped edge, what a struggle it would have been to get it all together. Now before I can put this end on, I've got to get that baffle in place. The purpose of that, of course, is to prevent the fuel from sloshing around too much. Sloshing. It's a funny word. Is there even such a word? It is a word now. Sloshing. The fuel will slosh around without too much, without the baffle. So in goes the baffle. Hopefully. Yes. So those two cutouts are now going to determine the top and the bottom of my tank. That's important, because if they're not oriented correctly, orientated, I don't know which one it is. Anyway, so if they're not in a correct position, then the fuel won't flow from the one compartment to the next. I'm going to mark my tank now. This is bottom, this is top. Right, baffle is welded in. I couldn't get in here with the TIG welder, so I used the MIG gun for this one. No need to fully weld it. Just a proper little stitch welders. Stitch welders. What is a welders? Proper little stitch welds. Every 4 or 5 inches and we're good to go. Eish, me and this English language. I used this old rusty big ass clamp to pull things nice and tight while I was doing my stitch welders. Time to get the last end cap into place. So let's take a good look, because we're not going to see the inside of this tank again, ever. Okay, let's see. So important now that I reference this end cap correctly. So I've got it marked which side is the top, so that my outlet will sit in the bottom. It's all to do with the cutouts in the baffle. And I'm not going to use that oriented word again, because I somehow think that's got something to do with moving to the land of the rising sun or something. I don't know. Got this end tacked into place, and I have myself a fuel tank of sorts. Looks more like a freaking oil drum to me, but there it is. So now I gotta weld it fully, everywhere, and then we can pressure test it for leaks. So this seam I have here, that's just an overlap. I mean, to do this as a butt joint will be a major struggle. So having an overlap like this just makes the assembly so much easier. And then of course TIG welding it will be easy too. So another great thing about this tipped edge is that makes the welding so easy. I can just melt the edges of these two plates together with the TIG torch. No filler rod required. Okay, lekker man, I got all my welding done, a little camo grinding, and I'm ready to test for leaks. Oh, if you don't know, camo grinding is what us normal oaks do to hide our less than perfect welding. If you're interested in these things, I'm using a really basic little DC 200 amp TIG welder. Apart from the amp setting, the only other thing you can adjust is the post flow time, either 2.5 seconds or 5 seconds. And my amp setting for fusing those two 1.2mm sheets together, 82 amps. Right, so I'm going to pressurize my tank with a little bit of compressed air and then spray all my weld seams with soapy water and look for bubbles. Now some dudes reckon it's not safe to do this. Man, if I can weld suspension components together and trust that welding, this is definitely not going to stress me. So let's see. Yeah, I can't see any bubbles. At least on this side. I'm impressed with myself. Let's check out the other side. Nope, nothing there. Aha, there's one right there. Can you see? I'll tell you one thing though. I've learned from experience, if you weld these tanks together with MIG welding, your chances of multiple panels are pretty much guaranteed, and it's unavoidable. So I've just only found one. That's not bad going. So I'm just going to grind this one out and re-weld it, and then we'll be good. I still need a filler cap for my tank, and instead of cruising around out there in the digital world for something expensive and fancy, I'm going to keep it basic and simple and use these pipe fittings. I've got a 2-inch pipe nipple here that I've already cut in half, and these two screw-on caps. Let's cut a hole here with my pipe template thingy. Which is just a slice of pipe welded onto a bit of flat bar, but it works really well as a guide for cutting holes with a plasma cutter. As you can see right here. So I'm just going to fish out that piece that fell into the tank, clean off the slag there a little bit, and then a piece of pipe nipple can weld on right there. Where are you? Come to Papa. Got it. Like that. And now my rather industrial looking filler cap can screw on right here. Next, I need to make a plan for a breather. And so, I came up with this ridiculous contraption. I took a piece of threaded rod, and then I cut a groove either side to provide an air passageway, hold it on a nut, and my handle, if I can call it that. And then I tap the hole into the cap. This contraption can then screw in there. And then here on the inside I've got double nuts so that you can't screw it out all the way. So the idea is then that the air can pass through those grooves that I've cut into the threaded rod. And then I had this stupid thought that if you screw this down, it will minimize petrol evaporation when the truck is standing for a long time. Yeah, I probably spent too much time by myself in this isolated forest workshop. Last thing on my tank is a fuel sender unit. I've had this set lying in my cupboard for quite a long time, as you can see from the dust. So I'm going to give that a try. Made up this flange from a bit of pipe and a piece of 1/8 plate that I could drill and tap. And with a little bit of careful maneuvering, this whole sender unit should go in here. Just got to aim carefully. There we go. Like that. Just got to bolt it on. Oh, I got to put the gasket in. But I'll only do that once the tank is painted. And then of course I'll run a wire and mount the gauge in the dash down the line. Now I did say I was going to make 2 of these tanks, right? So I'm going to have these 2 tanks teed together, so I don't need another fuel sender unit, because this one will monitor both of them. The batteries of the mic died during this clip, and I only realized it later. So this is a voiceover. If the voice doesn't quite match the hand, that's why. I need a bracket to mount the tank, and I'm going to use this 50 by 38 box section 2 by 1.5 inch. I've already cut out this 45-degree mitered piece here. So now I can bend this and weld it together to make an L-shaped bracket. So the plan, my man, is something like this. We'll make 2 of these. This side will bolt to the truck frame, and the tank obviously rests there. And then I'm going to make some straps that go across to hold it in place. I'm just going to roll this piece of 50 by 3 flat bar into a hoop to go and try as that strap I was talking about. That would be 2 by 1/8 for my imperially inclined friends, of which I have many. Yeah, I reckon a little bit more, eh? One more time and I think we'll be good. Yeah, let's go and try that. Right, let's see. So the idea is that this sits like this. Not the perfect fit, but we can fine tune it a little bit. And then up here I've got to find a way to attach it somehow. And then down here, if I weld on a piece of angle bar with a hole in it, and I take a bolt or some threaded rod or something, weld it onto the strap, it can go through the hole and we can tighten it up. Yeah, I think that can work well. Let's do it. I cut my box section at an angle to get it parallel to the line in which the strap will sit. Then I cut a lekker heavy piece of angle bar that will weld on there. It's a 6 mm thick, 1/4 inch. And then my bolt can weld onto the strap, go through the hole, the nut, and then you can pull it tight. Like this. Yep, that's why I will be able to strap down that tank properly, man. Here on the other end of my strap, I welded on this little bit of tubing to take this 10 mm bolt. Then I made these 2 tabs that I welded on here. So now, this can go in like so. Bolt through there. Oh, and I capped this end here so that we don't get any water going into the box section. So that's what we've got so far when I've assembled it. So I guess you could have just welded the strap on here. Then you would have to bend it to get the tank in there. But what the heck, I might as well just do it properly. Now, let's see how this is going to fit the tank. Yep, that works for me. Except, looking at it now, I don't like the fact that the weight of the tank and its contents are concentrated on a single contact point right there. So I think I would like to do a saddle here of sorts. Something like this. I've rolled another piece of flat bar to the same diameter as the tank. So if I weld this in here and then give it a rubber lining, and I'd also do a rubber lining on the strap. Yes, that's exactly what I'm going to do. There you go. I even welded in a little gusset here to support that end. Now my rubber lining can get glued in here once the frame is painted, and then my tank will sit in here very happily. Right, so almost done. One more thing to do. I got to weld on flanges so that I can bolt this to the truck frame. Now I can bolt it to the truck. Weld it on 2 pieces of flat bar with holes drilled in them. except I still can't fit my tanks. I have to make 3 more of these. Better get to it.
Much later.
Jeez, finally, eh? It was actually quite a freaking mission. You know, sometimes I sit in my thinking chair to think. Sometimes like now, I just sit. So I'm just gonna do that for a little while. And then we can go and fit this lot and see how it all works out. Bolting on the last of these 4 brackets. And what a mission it was to drill all these holes with a hand drill. Now, it might not sound like a big deal. So let me enlighten you. So the frame is 8 mm thick. And this doubler plate is another 6. So 6 and 8 is 14 mil. I've got 4 holes per bracket. And 4 brackets. So that's 16 holes. Do the maths. And 16 times 14 comes to 224 millimeters, almost 9 inches of steel I had to drill through by hand. A lot of effort, frequent cutting fluid, sharpening the drill bits in between. But here we are. I'm just going to bolt this last one into place now, and then we can fit the tank to see how it works. Right, tank going in for the first time. I'm quite excited. And a strap, and go in like this, get him in place more or less. One strap here, another strap in the back. Yes, something to that effect. Needs to move forward a little bit maybe. Let's have a look at it from a different perspective. Yes, I think that works very well. Still got lots of space here to build proposed storage boxes at some point down the line. So yeah, I don't know when that will happen, but I've got the space here to do it. Yeah, filling the tank will be very easy through here. No need for plating in this area. I mean, the furthest forward the car can possibly sit is here somewhere. What with space for winches and all that sort of stuff. And as you can see, dust here by me is an instant event out here on the farm. I do like the round tank a lot. It suits the lines on the rest of the truck very well, I think. Yeah, but now with my OCD kicking in, I don't like the square step. So I think one day I would actually like to build a different step with some rounded corners. Just to flow with all the other curves, man. I mean, this square corner hurts my eye. Okay, that's this one. Let me go and put the one on the other side in place as well. One on the left and one on the right. Up on the deck now to break in my shiny paint a little bit. That's what it looks like from here. There's my one tank and my other tank. Just space for winches. I've already welded in some brackets there. A little bit of a spoiler alert here. Down in there, I'm going to be mounting an electrical winch, and then over top of it, in a way, it's going to go this real old school mechanical winch, and then you will not really be able to see the electrical winch. But that's somewhere in the future. I guess if you want to see that happening, you're just going to have to stick around. And while we're up here, check out the back of this cab. I mean, how awesome are these curvy lines and a little back window? It's just so cool. So what's next then? Well, unfortunately, I've got to take it all off again to do the painting. I'm struggling to say the word. There's been too much of it happening here lately. Hey, you. Thank you so much for your continuous support, encouraging and constructive comments. It really means a lot to me, helps to keep me going out here in the forest. So I thank you a lot. I will see you in the next video. Until then, have a lucky one, my brothers and sisters.
Whatever makes you happy, just depends on you. So think a little bigger